All right. So now that we have an idea of the project we are trying to work on, which is to host a static website, like I said earlier, we're going to locate our region and create our VPC. So let's go ahead and do that. Right. Okay. You should have an AWS account already, right, at this time. So from here, you can see we have, this is where we can access our region. So AWS has a lot of regions, as you can see here, and each region has a name that is associated with it. So you can choose any one, but the idea of this is that if our users that are going to be accessing our application are in, let's say, for instance, United States, then the best practice is that we create or host our website in any of these four regions that is under the United States. If they're in Canada, then this is what we should do, right? So I'm using Ohio US East 2. There's no main reason you can host in anyone, right? But the reason why we do this, the reason why we host our website, our application in a region that is close to where our user is because we want them to have fast access to it, so that when they are loading the application, they quickly have access to it. That's the major thing. It's called latency, right? The time taken for user to access the application. So this is a region, right? So let's go and create our VPC. In the search box, you can type VPC and then navigate. Click on this, open a new tab, and navigate to our VPC. All right. So in this VPC, so normally AWS by default, has created a VPC by default and many other things by default. But we want our own space in the cloud. That is why it's called a virtual private cloud. We want our own space in AWS cloud. So we're going to create our own VPC. And to do that, you can click create VPC here, and then VPC only, because we want to take it step by step and see all the process. So you can name it dev VPC, right? You can just give it any name. The reason why I'm giving it dev is I assume that this is our dev environment and then VPC, So for this, we are going to be using a naming convention, right? It's best to when we are naming things, it's best to name them so that people that see it, or even you yourself, can understand what this thing is doing, right? So for that, let's see. Okay, I need to access. So for that, yes, this is what we'll be using. Our naming convention here, right? So we've created a VPC. Want to create we are creating a VPC, I mean, and then this will be the CIDR block, right? So copy this and let's go back. Yeah. So that will be the CIDR block. There's you know, CIDR means classless inter-domain routing, and for this, right, it's all about networking. But we'll not be going deep into that. Just know that for your CIDR block, when you're creating a VPC, you have a CIDR block, and it may be different from this, right? But the rule of thumb, right, is that you'll be given the CIDR block for your to use to create your VPC in an organization, ideally. So we'll be using this, right? And then leave it as default, tenancy as default, and then we can click on and create VPC. Yeah. Our VPC will be created in a few seconds. Okay. Taking some time. All right, it's already created. Right, so you can see the VPC ID and other details. We click on your VPC here. You can see our dev VPC that we created, exactly that we created. And then In this filter by VPC, we can choose our dev VPC now so that we can filter every resource under it. So you can see now you filtered it. You come to subnet, there is nothing there. But if you do not filter it, right, the resources of this default VPC will be showing like this one. So filter it so that there won't be any confusion. So yeah, so this is how to create your VPC. So in the next video, we'll be creating our internet gateway and we'll be attaching it to our VPC. See you in the next video.